The women of Forever Knight seem to have a nice variety of non-traditional feminine roles. Are you pleased with that?
Yeah, actually, it takes a bit of the onus off, being able to just act. You don't have to worry about being the woman of the week, you know, the guest star, because every time you look at a script and it always says the most beautiful woman in the world walks into the room, and it's every director's wet dream, basically, what you have to try to live up to. So it's kind of nice to be able to go, whew, you don't have to worry about any of that, because we have all those people that come in on a weekly basis. So I can just sort of relax and try to sound intelligent. I hope I do. I don't always.
One of the new characters this year is a captain who is a female. I'm wondering, is it a little too pat having, of your 6 principals, three female, 3 male?
No, I don't think so. Although a lot of our guest stars are female because of it being Gare's show and Gare's story, basically. So a lot of the guest stars do end up being female, but I don't think so. I mean, if you look at most action shows, they're all men. And a lot of the time, I think women are sort of in the authoritarian role to bounce off of in these action shows too, whether they're doctors or coroners or whatever. What was the question? I had another answer. No, I had something else to say, and I can't remember what the question was.
It'll come back to you, don't worry. Your character, some people have criticized her for being too much of a victim. Now, do you feel that is in the writing and not necessarily the characterization itself?
I think that when they write shows for me, when they say it's a Natalie show and they give you a larger storyline, I think unfortunately a lot of the old cliches tend to come out. So a couple of times I have been a victim when they've given me more to do, and that's kind of disappointing in some ways. What was the question again?
Do you feel that Natalie is strong enough, or do the roles or do the scripts tend to make her a victim?
I think, as I said, when they do write more for me, I do get victimized a bit, but I don't think she can be all that much stronger. I think some people had said, "You're so strong, that's wonderful," and part of me thinks that, well, a lot of it is shot, you know, at 4 o'clock in the morning, and I get really crabby around, I don't know, between 2 and 5. So perhaps I come off a little stronger than anyone intended, just because of that.
Are you going to go beyond being Nick's support staff this year? You're always there for him. You're making him feel good. Does Natalie get to be Natalie and more than his support this year?
You don't see a lot of Natalie's life outside the morgue and the precinct and the basic sort of form of the show. There was a show like that last season, but there isn't one like that this season. In a way, though, they've made Nick a little more distant from Natalie. And I think they're sort of working back to getting the closeness back, because I think they realize that works very well, or that people like to see that. But no, you don't get to see a whole lot. They mentioned Sydney the cat once or twice, and that's about it.
You haven't done a lot of work with the Lacroix character. If Natalie confronted Lacroix, how do you think that would go?
I'd like to say she'd win. I don't know.
Considering she's the one who's trying to make him mortal again, and that's the one thing Lacroix does not want to happen.
Yeah, it's true, and there's always been the suggestion that perhaps Lacroix what would be the way that Lacroix could really get to Nick through the people that he cares about, i.e. Natalie. I don't know. It would be interesting. I'd love to be, but I have a feeling I'd be a victim. You know, Nick would have to come and save me, and I'd be going, be a lot of that. So
the trap again.
The trap, yeah. It's difficult for women in action shows. I always feel like the expendable crew member in action shows.
The red shirt.
Oh, is it? They're always wearing the red shirt. I'll have to remember that.
Do you see a 3rd season?
I think so. I think so. Once you begin in the syndication, I think it is the only way that people make money, to get into a 3rd season. And I think that they spent a lot of time and a lot of trouble syndicating this show over a year and a half, and I think it would be worth their while at least to see if they can go a 3rd season.
Despite the fact that you and Garrett are acknowledged series killers.
Did he say I was?
I have it down in black and white somewhere.
Well, I don't know if I killed them, but they were certainly dead. Yeah, well, I guess this has proved us wrong so far.
Which is nice for the fans, very nice.
It is nice.
Are you offended by the treatment of this show that Ontario stations are giving it, considering you're shot right here and there's not one Ontario station showing it?
Well, it's bizarre. All of our rules about Canadian content, and I agree with all of them. I think it's very important. I think that's what, it's the only protection we have against the giant to the south and all of the information that comes pouring over. This show, I think, because it was Well, it takes a bit of courage to show this kind of subject matter. Number one, the vampire. It's not your run-of-the-mill show, and number two, it was conceived by Americans, and so even though it's 99% Canadian, it's acted, it's written, it's directed for the most part by Canadians. I don't think it's really seen as a Canadian show. Still, I think because it started in the CBS. I'm a little disappointed that they're not carrying it, but at the same time, there's a nice sort of anonymity. You can sort of do your show and, you know,
Still
pay your
lead a
mortgage.
normal life.
That's right. No one says hi.
I was fortunate enough to see you at the Red Barn this summer doing some live acting, and I found it to be a little different than what you do on television. More live, if you prefer. Do you think you act differently when you get on a stage?
Oh yeah, I spend most of my time on television trying not to let my lips move too much. You know, and you're very
Explain
quiet.
that. Let your lips move too much?
Well, you don't want too much. This is probably just a terrible thing that you picked up from watching too much American TV. But it's all very, you know, kind of impassive, and it's all sort of little looks in the eyes and things. And it's much more fun, and it's much more freeing to do theater. I do feel a little constrained doing television, but it is a lot more fun doing theater.
I hope we see you doing more of it. Thank you very much for your time.
Oh, you're welcome. Thank you.